You know, I think today's movie might mean a little bit more to us in 2023 than in 1991 when it came out. What's going on, Dungeon Dwellers? Welcome back to Dave's Dungeon. I am, as always, the one, the only, Dungeon Master Dave. Here yet again to bring you another entry in Spooktober 2023. And I'm finally back to being able to do that again. Hey, how about that? But I still got that sort of nice, mellow tone on the back end, so it's not always shrill, it's not always harsh. But yeah, I've lost the mustache, or the beard all the way. I'm still rocking a mustache. I'm sorry for those of you who miss her. Today we are talking about The People Under the Stairs, a Wes Craven classic. Now I know you guys hear the name Wes Craven and you guys get all antsy about Nightmare on Elm Street or Scream or one of his other masterworks, and I promise you there's not much in the Wes Craven catalog that you could choose from and go wrong with. That being said, I feel like this one is so overlooked and underrated that people really do need to go back and give it another watch, because in 2023 we have a new sort of circle back to this one. Look at this one again, because you don't always know who you live around or who you're dealing with or what's going on around you. Plus, some of the societal things going on in this movie seem to be rearing their ugly head again. So, without further ado and any more gilding of the lily, let's get into the body count. We have one understated eerie green title card. And I mean, could you have picked a worse color to set this movie's sort of intro card to? One tarot foo, which ends up foreshadowing the entire plot of the movie. If you're a fan of this, think Midsommar, think any other film that shows you in the first 5 minutes an entire detailed breakdown of what's going to happen in the entire 1 hour and 41 minute runtime. Which, might I say, it is a bit long. Just a smidge. But that might be because it's trying to resolve one of about 40 plot lines. One, introducing the fool, Poindexter himself. And the character himself has some symmetry with his tarot card. Interesting kind of character development through tarot card. One, eviction foo. But no one wants to tell Poindexter, because that might be important to the boy and him making a decision. One tearing down of the building seems to be a common trouble amongst everywhere and everyone, where these people own all this land and you miss one payment, you do one little thing wrong, and all of a sudden it's, and bye. And we're going to tear it down. And this hits a little weird, seeing the next film we're going to cover is probably going to be Evil Dead Rise. And that one itself also has a little bit of eviction notice trouble. One, don't trust Leroy or any offers of easy money or easy streets, okay? This whole movie is all about do not trust the easy way, and do not trust it just because you're out of it. One, introduction. Cut to Ed and Nadine Hurley, whom we don't get named in the movie. This is why I'm visiting these characters again. This is Everett McGill and Wendy Robbie. Is that? Yeah, it's Wendy Robbie. Who play Ed and Nadine Hurley in Twin Peaks. In this, they are Mommy and Daddy. Shit you not. They do not have any stated names. So for the remainder of this review, I'm going to call them Ed and Nadine because that's how I know them. They are Ed and Nadine. They are the weird couple / landlords. One, father's eating. I'm not so sure those are pork ribs. The other white meat scene, filled with buckshot, believe it or not. The weird sort of point here is, I think this is sort of a shout out to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but because of the other weirdness, it's subtle. Wink, wink, subtle, sorta, subtle. And if you don't believe that there's a cannibal plotline here, you're forgiven for not understanding that or believing that. But it is, and it's subtle, and you don't quite get it unless you're looking for it. One last family left in the building until you get to, quote-unquote, tear it down for some clean condos and people who are up for clean living. That's racist. That's racist! One, this building is very full of people for only one family lives here. One, your mama's got cancer, quote from Leroy, to the fool. Because, Leroy is just a bundle of sunshine this entire movie. But he is played by Ving Rhames, who is a phenomenon and will always be remembered and missed here in the dungeon. Remember, we remember you. One treasure map hidden in the back of a liquor store that Leroy robbed. Are you sure that's a treasure map? Are you sure that isn't just, somebody randomly scribbling something down? No, it's actually a map? Okay. One, we're going to rob the landlord plan and nothing can go wrong. Landlords don't often lose. One, you want to be stupid? You don't need fool for that. Quote, foolproof plan. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, nod. Blah. One, quote, one day I'm going to buy a Cadillac for each of your feet, mama. I felt that. I mean, some of the stuff between the neighborhood and the community coming together and everybody feeling a sense of camaraderie in the neighborhood, I felt that. I felt that being from where I am and being like, hey, everybody in my neighborhood kind of pulls together like that. And it's sort of a reflection of more today in a modern time in a rural sort of quiet place that is urban but is smaller. One, meanwhile, Nadine has to be strict with the kids scene, which, ugh. And I gotta say, for those of you who are sensitive to racial language, trigger warning, Ed gets a little mouthy here, and I get you're selling the bit, but even today, that's not dialogue I would have went with Wes Craven. That's racist! One, Alice has been bad again, and Ed has that familiar headache, because, a trigger warning for those of you, child abuse. One, bad girls burn in hell, quote, child abuse scene. And like I said, child abuse. One Boy Bear Scout uniform that actually ends up being used on a scout. a fool of a scout, if you will. One, can I come shit in your bathroom since you don't want any cookies seen? Cause, gotta get in the house somehow. One, padlocks on the outside of the house, quote. Cause, that's weird. Like, I'm sorry, y'all want to rob a place that has locks on the outside of the building? I'm not so keen on that. One, sending a boy to do a man's job, quote. Cause, Nadine looks at your boy hungry. One, maybe the president is gonna make me secretary of pussy department, quote from Ving Rhames, that I can't believe I'm even quoting to you right now. Like, my brain just was like, hey, don't say that. One, seeing one car leave, so you think the coast is clear trope. Because, of course, everything's fine, because they left, right? One, doing this shit on your 13th birthday is probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because you are unlucky today. Quote from Ving Rhames again, you're too old to get tit and too young to get ass. The dialogue on this movie is amazing until it says it's 13th burn in hell. One, Leroy and the Fool versus the mother of all doors. I done busted this house's cherry, quote. Which, if you don't recognize it, and I'm the only one sitting over here going, it's a reference to something. It's a reference to something. This is the door from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think it is the door. If it isn't, it's looking similar. It looks damn similar to the same door they used in Leatherface's room for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So it's like, if you don't see the call outs, I can't help you. Go watch that and go watch this and go, oh, I see what he's talking about. Yeah, that door is something else. One, hey, fuzzball, your mother sleeps with cats. Because that gets the dog's attention. Of course it does. Getting Princey off of Leroy. Because Leroy's getting his ass eat. One, meat grinder, sender of the shot, because it isn't apparent enough what's going on here. You have a clear table. You have two men next to a door that they just had to shut to keep from a dog eating them. And there's a meat grinder. It's like right there, centered right in the shot. One, every cabinet in this place has a lock on it. Okay, let's GTFO now. Forget the coins. This place is obviously not okay. One, Leroy and the Fool decide to actually Scooby-Doo. Yeah, you go this way, I'm going to go that way. And we're going to find Spencer, and we're going to find the coins. Too bad for Fool, he drew the short straw on finding Spencer. Yeah, actually finds Spencer in the basement. But meet Roach and the other people who live under the stairs. Boom, we did it! We did it! We said the name of the movie. Bum, 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 bum. Play the fanfare. One, Ed and Nadine come home after a drive. Boy, are Leroy and the Fool screwed today. They should have been out of there by then. One, the front door has been electrified for your safety. Because I'm sorry, I kind of want this as a house deterrent. You can't rob my house if the front door is going to shock the shit out you. Part 2 of Leroy versus the dog. Using the electric dog using the electric door handle to tase the dog. Eat taser, Prince. One, get in there and make it safe for mommy. Nadine locks down the house because at this point you're wondering, oh, okay, so they're just in a locked house. I can get in and out of a locked house if I really need to. Now it's okay. Now we're not getting out of anywhere. One gas mask, one laser scope, and one flashlight equals got 'em. For everything else, there's MasterCard. One only good fool is a dead fool, quote. Bye, Leroy. Yeah. I hate to say Ving Rhames is no longer with us in the movie, but goodbye, Leroy. One fool crawling around in the walls ends up stumbling upon some Princey leftovers and barely escapes Ed unloading into the walls, which I gotta say, if Ed isn't unloading in the walls, someone's moaning or screaming about something and you are uncomfortable. The pressure in this movie, by the 42-minute mark, you're going to go, can I go do something else? Can I get out of this for a moment? Because it's intense. By the halfway point, you're going, oh, man, this does not stop. One, Alice and Fool finally meet, and Fool learns the situation because he's not quite ready to understand what's going on here until he meets Alice and Roach. One, all of Dad's bad kids are cut and put in the basement, and parts of them are taken away. Ew. Yeah, munchies. They're eating the parts of the people under the stairs, and they're kidnapping them. They're just baby nappers. They're just people in the neighborhood who take your kids. But because of who they are, it's the whole reason people get away with shit now. One, Roach is the only mad lad who's crazy enough to take on Dad and is still crawling around the walls. One, Ed decided today was a good day for leather armor because better mobility. One, I don't understand how the police don't hear Ed shooting a shotgun because it's inside. I don't care who you are. If you're shooting buckshot indoors in a neighborhood and the police are outside, they are going to hear that. Do you understand me? You can hear buckshot from miles. You are not going to shoot buckshot quietly in a residential neighborhood house. I don't care if it's silenced. You are not Sugar. You're not doing it. Giving Princey a hand for, quote, doing a good job. Because, yeah, he's a good boy. One, Fool barely survives thanks to Roach's ingenuity and a little bit of father-like son. Because some of the contraptions in this place are pretty impressive. And to have installed them while under assault from a shotgun is equally so. One, Ed cut Roach's tongue out for speaking evil. Because Ed, damn. That's like harsh. That's like, ow. You suck. One doll for every person Ed and Nadine closed out. Alice has been keeping track. One, time to clean house. Total spring cleaning mad dash. I mean, if it's a total go nuts Shamaz moment. One, clean it up for God's sakes. What's a mother to do? Nadine monologue with bath. that is so uncomfortable I don't know what to do or make of it. One daddy keeps them real hungry, and mama makes them clean. Ugh. Fool finally meets the people under the stairs. We did it. We said the movie title again. It's not just a title. Boop, 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 boop. One roach tells the funniest joke with Leroy in a horror movie award, which, if you don't know what I'm talking about because you haven't seen the movie yet, Roach, who is a mute character, does something with Leroy's body that is probably the funniest thing I've ever seen happen in a horror movie. And I am offering Roach, also known as Sean Whalen, the horror movie award for best joke ever told in a horror film. One Roach has been shot, but he has some of the coins and a way out. But he makes one request of Fool. Take Alice and make sure she gets out. Which means we end up seeing Fool have to deploy some nutshot foo, all killer no thriller from Fool. One burn in hell rampage from Father Ed, shooting through the walls again, which I still don't know how this house is, one, still standing in a livable place. The police haven't heard. And they have enough wood and other things in the background where they can just, it just goes back up with some stucco and everything's fine. What? What are you living in the House of Leaves house where it just fixes itself and just regrows? One bayonet foo, but Ed hit the wrong target. Good night, sweet prince. E. One bad boy, you go straight to your room and put on your suit, quote. Nadine's had it with the bad boy. One I should tan your hide story from Fool's Grandpa Jake. That isn't funny. It's not funny at all, Grandpa Booker. It's not Jake, it's a joke. It's a grandpa joke. I wrote down joke and it read it Jake. Why did I do that? His name is Booker. It's Grandpa Booker. Sorry, I'm getting out of pocket. One daddy and mommy, brother and sister. Family full of fucked up shit. Which we're here for. One promise Fool decides he actually is going to keep, and means he's got to call the police and sneak back into the house, foo. Which, gotta say, is an interesting sort of trick of like the police come, but we know how that song and dance goes. Police are pointless in these stories. One spring-loaded armoire with loaded shotgun, because who doesn't want a roll-top desk where you have the shotgun spray out of it and you've got it immediately at hand? One, Alice is hanging out in the attic until Fool gets back, because who knows how long she's been up there, and Fool finally spills the beans. One Mama Nadine wants to cut off Fool's balls. Fool ends up stumbling in on Mommy and Daddy having a little fight. Daddy, Mommy, don't fight, don't fight. One Ed catches a brick coming down the chimney while Nadine catches the boot. One Fool gets Alice free, but he isn't done with them yet and decides to go back. One, you know a prayer? Say it. full quote, but he ends up making a mistake with them damn stairs. The stairs are the enemy. Wait, you thought it was just a title? No, the stairs are the damn enemy. But convenient foo. I'm going to go ahead and say this. It's a total convenient plot point foo of knock, knock, knock. One, Alice knocks mama out. Alice knocks mama out. Alice said knock you out. Oh. One, no wonder there's no money in the ghetto quote. Fool finds the gold. And finally, one, people under the stairs get their revenge. Going out with a bang, foo. Dave says, Four Skulls. This one is a classic. If you haven't seen it yet, you are making mistakes and doing them fast. MVP awards go to Brandon Quentin Adams as Full Poindexter, Everett McGill as Ed, aka Daddy, Wendy Robbie, as Nadine / Mommy, AJ Lunger as Alice, Ving Rhames as Leroy, Bill Cobbs as Grandpa Booker, Kelly Jo Minter as Ruby, which shout out to Ruby. She is horror royalty. You should know her from Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. She's the best friend who swims. And she's in several other things as well. She's got a full IMDb list that you should check out. And finally, final award to Sean Whalen as Roach for being a total mad lad who doesn't say a single word the entire time. Why do I take Skulls off of this? It's a little weird. So if you're not into sort of Twin Peaks style weird horror, high strangeness horror, this one might be a little much, especially with the the sort of pressure the movie puts on you and the way it acts on you and the sort of references it makes might be a little much for some. And it's long. Like, there's like 4 or 5 different plot lines going on at any given time, and you're wondering what's needing to resolve versus what's going on versus what's resolved. And you can kind of get lost in it and not understand what's you're supposed to be paying attention to versus what you are paying attention to. And like I said, given everything going on, it's sort of subtle that these people are cannibals. And so, thank you for everybody who's joined me for the bloody detail or the body count and the skulls. But I'm fixing to go off in the gory details, so if you don't want heavy spoilers or if you don't want to talk about the larger context of the film, thank you so much for watching this with me. I thank you for joining me. Make sure you leave a like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you do everything that you're supposed to do, blah, blah, blah. Okay, run along, because we're fixing to talk about what it's like, what the context of this movie is sort of going for versus what it actually goes for. Like, it's weird to me. Because on the one hand, it is sort of retouching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in a way that this is a weird family eating people. But then it also takes on this point of, well, they're just kidnapping people, because it's not necessarily overt about the eating stuff. And they seem to be sexually into things as well, given the gimp suit and given the way Daddy Ed acts. But then you have the sort of under the surface subtext of these are the landlords who own the land and the buildings and everything else and are charging the exorbitant prices. So it's like they are in fact cannibalizing the neighborhood, and they're trying to make the neighborhood clean, but at the same time, they're the whole reason it's degraded and left in shambles, because they've left it that way, because they've done nothing but eat the resources out of it instead of invest in it. Makes sense? So you got like 4 different plot lines of like, there's some religious trauma in there of like, burn in hell ends up being the most commonly said line in this film, because we're worried about cleanliness, when in fact Ed and Nadine are taboo, so to speak. So I gotta say, for a movie that is a little older, 1991 called, the context on this is just wild. It's hard to say there is one sort of ick in the movie, but at the same time, I think this all kind of starts to sound like modern day, and starts to get into, well, was this film ahead of its time? Was this film sort of a portent of, you don't know who lives around you, and now you're just seeing more of that evidence? So I don't know. I've fallen in love with this film over the years again and again and again, and I think everybody should take a moment to sit with it, because on the one hand, you have this sort of cultural issue of what the community what the community is and who the community belongs to and what the community is doing. But on the other hand, you have these sort of weird social issues of like what it's like to be in someone else's house, and what the weird stuff in their house is for, and where their lives differ from yours, and how 2 different cultures can share a neighborhood, and how that becomes important. So I don't know. I really want you to see this. I really do think you and everybody else who is watching along with me could do with a little different stuff out of Wes Craven. Because who isn't recommending A Nightmare on Elm Street from Wes, or Scream, or Wishmaster, or Last House on the Left? I mean, there are a ton of other films. I feel like this one gets overlooked. I feel like everybody could use this. Now, where are you going to watch it? You can watch it on AMC Plus. You can watch it on Amazon Prime if you have that. Or if you need to, you can watch it on Peacock, which Peacock's been doing pretty good. So I might recommend you do that. That's actually not a bad idea. But I think that's going to do it for this review. And for today, I'm only going to drop the 1 review, because if you're a fan in the dungeon, you should be watching The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. Today is Halloween. So make sure you guys are tuned in, and make sure you guys are watching that this evening. I'm just going to drop this. The next thing you see from me will be the Evil Dead Rise catch-up review, because I think there is a sort of correlative pattern to, hey, you're being evicted from 1991, and hey, you're being evicted from 2022. So, or is it even 2023? We'll see. But thank you so much for joining me, Dungeon Dwellers. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you ring the bell so you get notifications when I drop new content. Thank you for joining me on these journeys into the darkness and the spooky. But until we meet again, make sure you know where you're at, and you know who you're with.